Our brand is in very high demand. Every place we open, we're busy. We're opening with 250, 300 members. You're busy day one. I'm a big believer in the whole brand as a whole. We believe that capacity is the driver of all growth. That marketing without capacity is wasteful. And in fact, I tell many of our franchisees, stop marketing. I thought I'll never have the chance to do this a third time. I'm never going to build 1,000 location brand. And lo and behold, it's identical. It feels so similar. Our metrics are as good or better. Our franchisees' performance is as good or better.
Zenoti presents Growth Diaries, the fascinating stories behind the best brands in beauty, wellness, and fitness.
Today on Growth Diaries, we are joined by Meyers, the strategic mind behind Hammer Nails, the fast-growing men's grooming franchise that's reshaping how self-care shows up for men. With a background in operational leadership at FedEx and experience scaling over 1,500 locations at Massage Envy, Aaron stepped into Hammer Nails with a clear goal: build a high-performance franchise model rooted in systems, accountability, and long-term growth. Under his leadership, the brand has grown to 70 plus locations with many more in development, combining luxury services with a rigorously run membership engine. In this episode, we'll explore how Aaron built a playbook for franchisee success, from documentation so clear that no one can miss it, to letting data drive every decision. We will talk about why he treats staffing as marketing, how he gives franchisees room to lead, and why he's unapologetically focused on creating capacity, not waiting for it. Let's dive in. Welcome to Growth Diaries, Aaron. Thanks for making the time.
Glad to be here.
Great. So I want to first start off with getting a flavor of Hammer and Nails. So can you explain what the business is about and frame it a little? Then we'll talk about how the journey of Hammer and Nails.
Sure. Hammer Nails is a men's grooming barbershop concept. We have 50 locations open. We're on the path to having about 70, 75 locations open by the end of this year. The brand is really built on a concept of maybe a speakeasy. It's a place where guys can go and relax. We've tried to build a place that caters to men, makes them feel safe and confident and relaxed. No gimmicks, no pinball machines, no bright lights, no rock and roll. It's much more about low lights. Come in, spend some self-care time and relax in our shops and environment.
Cool. And it's the breadth of what salon and nails and all the services.
We do haircuts, straight razor shaves, manicures, pedicures, some waxing, some skincare, facials.
Cool. So you need to show up in Seattle because I don't think we have
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, we have a few interested candidates. So Seattle or some areas around Washington should be in the next, 12, 14 months.
Yeah, I've seen a few people try to do such formats, but they're not yet figured out how to scale. They're more at the 5 to 10 kind of locations.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. We'll talk about your scale in a bit. But yeah, so though you're in the men's grooming space, your background isn't necessarily about men's grooming. So maybe you should share a little. I know it's about FedEx, a company that I admire like crazy. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I've done quite a bit in my life. I spent 20 years with FedEx. I mostly in the operations side of business. I ran the Western United States for all the retail shops. I lived in Europe and ran all of Western Europe out of London for a few years. I then moved to Toronto, Canada, and ran Canada and Latin America for our retail stores for many years. I lived in Washington State with FedEx, so that over 20 years of running retail businesses, opening them up, building them, being responsible for growing the businesses. I kind of was known as the fix-it guy, so wherever was struggling.
Yeah, I remember with FedEx, they used to have this, and I remember somebody had written saying they were so admired for their customer service. You call FedEx, within one ring, somebody picks up and, how can I help you? And so this guy was trying you out and he kept calling and he said it couldn't fail. And then finally once, actually nobody picked up after 4 rings. And then he decided must be the telecom company. They routed it wrong. So let me call again because he couldn't believe that FedEx would get it wrong. So
Yeah, so I actually came from Kinko's, which FedEx bought us. And FedEx has the Purple Promise. And they have this kind of belief that you do whatever it takes to make the customer happy.
Yeah.
And that is like their golden rule. And I can remember being with FedEx for, I don't know, 3 days, 2 days, and getting a letter from a peer that said, like, whatever happened, this isn't the Purple Promise. And I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, I didn't know, I hadn't been assimilated yet. But they do live and believe this kind of very simple methodology, and they've done a good job as an organization. They believe in taking care of people, and that if your people take care of service, and if you have good people and good service, then you have good profits.
Yeah.
And if you live the Purple Promise and do what it takes, you succeed. And so I learned a ton about how to be a businessman in 20 years with FedEx.
Cool.
So
And then from there, you were, of course, into Massage Envy, which is in our industry now. So
yeah, so I became president of operations with Massage Envy. I also took on innovation at Massage Envy, and was really brought in to help Massage Envy have an encore. Massage Envy, we had grown it up to 1,200 locations. It was a massive franchise success, one of the biggest, best membership concepts that have ever existed. So I learned a ton about membership at that time, but came into that organization trying to find ways to help Massage Envy continue to expand.
Cool.
And so we brought in a plethora of new services like stretch and percussion and facials, skincare, retail, things like that to help the brand kind of figure out how to get to a second wave. And yeah, so that kind of prepared me. Those 6 years with Massage Envy in charge of ops and innovation prepared me to do, well, nothing really prepares you to build a startup from nothing,
yeah,
but it prepared me enough,
yes.
or at least I thought it did at the time.
Cool. So now coming to Hammer Nails, it also is a membership business, right? And so, and you've obviously learned a lot. So share a little around how you've come about designing this membership program at Hammer Nails so that it stands out in the industry overall.
Sure. Yeah. We tried to take everything that caused the most pain for customers in my other membership lives, and we try to take that and remove all of those points of pain. So we've built a membership that causes 0 friction. And we do that for many reasons, but the way we remove that friction is basically taking out the rules that make customers angry, frustrated, upset. So as an example, your services are yours. You can do whatever you want with them. You can bring in your son. You can bring in a friend. You can put it on a gift card. You can give that gift card to anybody you want. Those are your services. We don't charge you for extra. We don't make you pay fees. We don't try to take them from you. They roll over. They're yours as long as you want. If you go to travel to Europe for 3 months and come back, they're still your services. And so when you cancel, we don't try and bill you a second time. We don't try to say, oh, we need 5 days notice or 30 days notice. We take out all of the pain, but only give you the benefit, which is you get a better price if you join, but you have 0 risk if you don't. So it makes joining, very simple.
The beauty, wellness, and fitness industries touch our lives like no other industry does. And every brand that has succeeded in this industry has a wonderful story behind it. We have stories that engage, stories that we can learn from, stories that inspire all of us. And I'm here to bring you these stories and introduce you to the wonderful people behind these brands. So if you're enjoying this, do press like and hit the bell icon to subscribe, so you'll be the first to know when a new episode comes in. So that's a good tip for most people, because I think when people design memberships, firstly, of course, many businesses which are not doing memberships, moving to a membership model is very hard. They struggle with coming to terms with why are we giving this benefit and what do we get in return, etc. But I do think, of course, the data shows memberships are very powerful. But yeah, more businesses are discovering that initially they start off with putting a lot of constraints around their program because they're afraid, okay, this member is going to sign up, I'm giving them all this benefit. But when you relax the rules, it doesn't change behavior or any financial parameters kind of stuff. And so it's good that you're starting.
The parameters can actually do the opposite that you think it does. That when people feel trapped or they feel pressure, they push back, and it causes more friction than you think you're doing. By taking away the friction, they actually have less desire. They don't feel trapped. They can escape when they want to. And people stay with you because they love your brand, not because you trap them into a 12-month agreement. And so we've taken away those long-term commitments because we want people to stay with us because they're happy.
Cool.
And if you do that and you explain that correctly, people join. But then we've found that they're actually outstaying people that were trapped in other businesses I've been in, and those long-term commitments, we perform better.
Yeah, great. So it's one thing to have, of course, a very nice membership model which consumers love. It's friendly and it's working. And then, as I said, if you're not a membership business, how you run it is a very different DNA. And then if you're a membership business, it's very different as a DNA. And you were giving me an analogy. You could sell software as SaaS versus the old world of SaaS. So talk a little bit about how your company's DNA is centered on membership internally,
Yeah, I find a lot of times, even our competitors or people out in the world, they think, yeah, I want to be a membership business. I could see the benefits. And so they add a membership, and it really doesn't work. Like, you either are membership to your core DNA or you're not. And what it means to be your core is, I can go to any one of my franchisees and say, how many members do you have right now? And if they don't know, that's a problem. We failed in my book. We need to know how many guests are coming in that day. We need to know how many members joined today. You need to live and breathe it through your data, through your metrics, through your reporting, through your rewards, through your recognition, through your communication, through your training. Like, it needs to be every step of the life that a new franchisee, when they come in, even before, right? We've been training them on membership for 3 or 4 months before they become a franchisee.
Mm-hmm.
Then we train them for 6 to 12 months. Then they have pre-sales. Then they practice selling memberships. Like, it has to be all who you are. And if you're not all into membership, it doesn't work. And I see it not work.
Yeah. In fact, you do what even gyms do, which is, you were saying just now, pre-sales. And so, even before you open the store, what is the demand for your product?
Yeah, we found that pre-sales, we didn't do it for our first, dozen locations. And we wanted to expedite our pathway to profitability. We wanted our franchisees to come in and get profitable as fast as possible. Our goal is we want them profitable in the first month they open. We know that if we can make franchisees profitable exceptionally quick, that they're going to open a second shop, a third shop, a fourth. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to validate well. So we built a very robust pre-sales program with technology, with a CRM, with AI, with automation, with tracking, with reporting, with dashboards. Like, that's exceptionally thorough and can be accomplished, though, by people that have never sold anything in their lives, right? Because in franchising, you have to build a model that somebody may have been a project manager for the last 20 years. And now they're going to be like, hey, I'm going to be the owner of this amazing barbershop. And so we have to make sure that that person can make that transition by having processes and systems that are there to support that kind of individual. I'm not saying that a project manager is not valuable. I'm just saying people bring a varied, set of skills to every new role as a franchisee. So we've found ways to help anyone from any background to be able to join us and succeed if you follow the guidance.
Yeah, so maybe that's where you should speak to the. You, of course, as we said earlier, you are primarily a franchise business, so it's about how you work with franchisees, how you onboard them, etc. And you were giving some color, but you actually have a very formal guidebook which says this is how you'll do it. So maybe you should expand on that.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, look, 8 years ago when we franchised our first business, we built a tool to help someone get open that had 100-ish steps. And we thought, and even the franchisee, our first franchisee thought, wow, 100 steps to get open. This is so many steps. And come to find out, right, 7 years later, we're now at 365 documented steps to ensure that you open flawlessly, to ensure that you've checked every box. And it's for after every single opening, it's growing, right? It's forever adapting because we debrief after every opening. What did we miss? We're even having to build customized by state, that in this state, they have a very unique law. So now any time we open in Nevada, we have to make sure our systems and processes understand those laws, and that we have to now adapt that to a process. But we built a tool. We're obsessed with Monday.com. We love the ability for Monday to bring us, the tracking and the automation for all of our project management. And we give our franchisees seats within that tool. And we make sure that through our project management team, Lindsay and her team, that they're guiding franchisees through every single step of getting open. Again, it goes back to that original premise that we know that if our franchisees are successful, they open number 2 and number 3, right? We knew they can't. You're never going to win in franchising if your franchisee is not winning. So we had to build tools, processes, and systems that help them win.
Great, great. So moving on in terms of the franchisees themselves, in terms of other areas. So one is you actually give them multiple options and when they're coming on board in terms of whether it's marketing, who to work with, and how towards helping them be more successful. So maybe you can elaborate a little more about in addition to documentation, in addition to steps, guidebooks, whether it's dashboards and data of what is the right framework to look at, what you do for the franchise, and also how much are franchisees involved in the evolution of Hammer and Nails itself,
Sure. I mean, look, we try to give our franchisees choice. I've come from another brand and I've been in franchising a long time now, and I've been able to see what other brands do, and they oftentimes dictate this is your only choice in a lot of cases. And I get it. You have to get consistency in many ways. But where I can, I believe in giving choice to franchisees. I think that our business owners need to be able to hold a vendor accountable. And a vendor that is the only vendor is hard to hold accountable. And so we have 4 different agencies that we've approved through marketing. And that's 4 times the work for us at corporate, because that's 4 relationships that we have to manage and control. And we do that because it's worth it. It's worth it to give our franchisees choice, and it lets them have authority and power and be able to provide feedback and constructive criticism to those vendors so that they can perform better. So we do, in our marketing format, we have 4 different agencies, and I'm fighting to keep that. There is a lot of pressure as the CEO of this company to consolidate down and get to just one, and I feel that pressure, but I'm resisting because I'd like giving our franchisees as much choice as we can. And then your kind of second part was, well, how do we kind of work with them to harvest? And really that's what we do, is we harvest the very best ideas for growth from our franchisees. I've always believed that if you have a general in the front, and I did not invent this, but this came from, I believe it was Colin Powell. If you have a general in the front and you have a general in the back, you trust the general up front. You trust the general who has bullets flying past them, not the general in the back, right? You want our franchisees are talking to our customers every day. So in order for you to succeed as a business, you have to talk to the people that are touching your customers daily. And that is our franchisees and the leadership teams that run our businesses. So we continually harvest ideas from the field and figure out, can we take those ideas and apply them, and will they scale across the entire country? And look, lots of ideas don't scale nationally, so they don't make it to the whole country. But a lot of them have. I mean, I don't know how to explain what percentage, but I'm going to say 75% of the things that we've improved on over the past 7 years have come directly from our franchisees, because we partner with them, we listen to them, and we take their feedback.
Cool. Great, great. And in terms of, since we were talking about marketing and growth, like you are also a believer. I mean, many people are afraid in this industry about how many people should I have, how much capacity should I have, and how do you guide your franchise about growth and marketing and people?
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and the whole brand as a whole, we believe that capacity is the driver of all growth. That marketing without capacity is wasteful. And in fact, I tell many of our franchisees, stop marketing. You need to spend all of your money on recruiting and staffing for the next whatever days it takes for you to have adequate capacity. Then market. Really, all you're doing is having someone see an ad, click on an ad, come to our website that you've spent thousands of dollars to that point. They click on the calendar, they love the concept, and they want to book, and they go on to, right, they download our app, and they look at that content and they see, this is amazing, I want to book, and there's nothing available. You've just ruined your ability to grow. Our brand is in very high demand. Every place we open, we're busy. We're opening with 250, 300 members. You're busy day one. So it's our guidance to our franchisees is, you need to staff up. Staff for 4 months down the road, not this week. Staff for who you're going to be, and think of that extra staff and that extra headcount. It's basically marketing. And people don't like, what? It's not marketing. It really is. Like, it is part of that process. Marketing doesn't work without capacity. Uh, it. I've had franchisees call me and say, my marketing's not working. And we go look and say, oh, you had 10,000 visitors to your website this month. But now with Zenoti as a way, we can go and see, look, but you missed 400 phone calls.
Yes.
Or you had this many missed bookings. And you can see people dropping out with open carts now within Hyperconnect, as an example. So you can see those things happening in real time and help franchisees realize that they don't have a marketing issue. They have a capacity issue in most cases.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
I think I see this often because many of our businesses owners, like CEOs of even large brands, they say, oh, we have very poor conversion on our online booking. Our numbers should be better. We only convert 30%, the remaining we're not. And I'm like, okay, look, you're not selling a retail product in a SKU, which is there. It has to be available, the appointment. And, we do need to, so we have done our best to say, give them as much transparency as possible, saying, what did the person search for and all that stuff. But people still don't realize how much business they're missing out. And your question about even the missed calls, you mentioned you asked your own franchisees. They didn't know how many calls they were missing.
Absolutely. Until recently, with the newest upgrade to our point of sale through you guys, right, that we didn't have this insight to the number of calls. We were all blown away by how many missed calls that you don't think it's happening.
Yes.
And giving insight to missed calls, dropped appointments, has kind of opened people's eyes to, oh, Aaron's been right. I do have capacity issues. We have this slogan, and it came from one of our franchisees. Her name is Ilona. She runs a bunch of shops for us in Virginia. But Ilona's slogan was, my job is to create capacity when I don't have it. So if you don't have it, you have to create it. Your job is to create openings, and then the people will fill it because your brand is built the right way.
Yeah. And even we found, by the way, we tracked the average across the whole people who use Hyperconnect, as an example, the phone line. 30% of calls across all customers were being missed calls. And the owners may not even realize that they're, because it's so busy and, there's new staff all the time at the front desk, and they may not be able to, validate the number.
Yeah. There's no question that we're excited about Hyperconnect.
Yeah.
We jumped on this very quickly with you guys.
Yeah.
And our franchisees are the people that are driving that, though.
Yeah.
That's not me seeing something, which I do. I'm excited about it. But we had our toughest, most difficult, most thorough franchisees test it, try it. And for them to come back and say, this tool gave me insights and helped me run my business better, it's just rare. So it's not easy. I mean, it's hard to get compliments in franchising. And so for them to come back and give a compliment is
great.
High praise.
So then the problem is around capacity and hiring, right? So how do you help people in terms of hiring? I also understand hiring people is hard. Yours is a very unique business model and footprint. So maybe it's easier. I don't know. Any color on how you help franchisees?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're giving them content, and we're teaching them what to say, how to recruit, how to build content that shows candidates what it's going to be like to work for us. We focus on what makes us unique, what makes us special. A lot of haircut places are doing 3 and 4, 5 haircuts within an hour. It feels very rushed. Our minimum service is 30 minutes long. So we found out what's unique about us that says, look, you have more time for your craft. And then our customers that are memberships, they typically tip significantly better than other concepts. And so we try to find ways to help articulate why we're unique. We have a partnership with Hattori Hanzo, and we give all of our artists the world's greatest shears when they come work for us. So we try to give them tools. We try to give them, meaning our franchisees, tools to help communicate what makes us unique, so that when they're out opening businesses and they're talking in the community, they know the right trigger point. We talk about our continuing education, our development, about how we're a growing brand and we have career path. But you've got to find ways to bring value and show that what makes your brand stand out. You can't just say we're a great place to work. It's not enough anymore. People are looking for more. And so we're trying to find ways to, as a brand, to stand out.
Good. You reminded me, this is an important point which I need to tell our team we need to write content on. We looked into this in the past with a few businesses, what you said, which is many people are afraid that if you do a membership model, the customer is not paying anything because I've already paid for my membership. So I'm not going to tip the employee and walk out. But actually the data is reverse, that they actually tip more.
They absolutely tip, right? Because I'm not having I didn't pay anything for today.
It is a very good insight.
And it's like, and so our tips are, I mean, I'm going to say I've seen this at least a dozen times in the past 6 months, where someone who's been working at a competitor comes to work for us, and their first day on the job, they get a tip that is larger than the biggest tip they ever have received in their life in the past 10 years of cutting hair.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've seen tears, I've seen shock, and I'm not trying to convey that all of your tips are these gigantic tips.
Yeah.
But we've built a way for the right customers to get the right services in the right environment at the right value. And it all adds up to men being willing to tip. And without paying cash out of pocket, it makes it feel like it's.
And so not only they make more tip on that visit, but customers tend to visit the 12 times in a year. So as a stylist, I get to grab this person for 12 times. And so I think it's a good point you have for everybody that in the membership model, employees will make more money kind of stuff.
No question that our membership is pinging them every 30 days and reminding them you want to come back.
Yeah.
And we work hard when we see someone that hasn't been in 30 days, we teach our franchisees and their teams, this is how you handle that. You're on the phone because utilization is the driver of retention. So if you have a customer and they're not utilizing, that attrition's coming.
Yeah.
You cannot allow that, which goes back to what we talked about earlier, though, that goes back to capacity.
Yeah.
Can they get in? Have they been not able to get in? You've got to go back and make sure that you're filling your books. If you do that, you can have success in running a membership concept.
And then as you've scaled, you've also looked at, of course, there's one thing about employees making good money and how you attract them. How do you help employees understand performance metrics and transparency and, and get access to it? And what are the kind of metrics that you want them to focus on?
Edge is who we use, and it's a pretty powerful tool. It incents our artists for 5-star reviews that drop their name. And then those artists are able to go in and use that to see if they have how many reviews they got, what their pay is going to be for this month. And it also kind of stack ranks them against the entire organization so they can see how many 5-star reviews their peers are getting, how it's working. So that has been a great way for us to kind of get the entire organization on the same page and get compensated for every single 5-star review that they get.
Great.
We have other metrics. We have dashboards, scorecards for rebooking, for customer service scores, and there's lots of other feedback, but we focus primarily on our customers giving you 5-star feedback. And if they are, it's kind of like a net promoter gauge, right? Do you have someone that's giving you feedback that says they would tell someone else? If they do, you're doing the right thing.
That's nice. So, and I do think I am a firm believer Google reviews are probably the number one decision maker for consumers in terms of whether they're going to come to your store or go somewhere else. So,
right. And our shops, if you go look, in fact, we just had an award show, so I know these by the back of my hand right now, but right, the lowest review ranked store in the entire country is 4.8.
oh,
Right. So our very worst performers, 4.8. We had 15 locations at 5.0. It's very rare to see a Hammer and Nails anything below a 4.9.
Looking ahead, what do you see where, you seem to have built a pretty thoughtful, solid foundation for the business? Where do you see Hammer and Nails in terms of scale and size over the next 5-10 years?
Well, I was with Kinko's and FedEx through growing our retail network to, I don't know, from 200 to 1,200 locations. And I was with Massage Envy from up to 1,200 locations. And I thought, I'll never have the chance to do this a third time. I'm never going to build a 1,000 location brand. And lo and behold, it's identical. It feels so similar. Our metrics are as good or better. Our franchisees' performance is as good or better. Our validation is as good or better. Our current performance and growth trajectories, we're going to be 1,000 location brand.
Great. I think, and the market is bigger, in fact, in this space than, just the massage business or whatever. So you could even be...
No question.
And I don't think anybody I've seen has cracked it at scale, at the kind of quality and, the membership models and all that stuff. So yeah, I hope it works out.
Yeah. I think for all of us, it would be great news.
Yeah.
I think we're headed down that path. I mean, we'll finish 2026. And this is not... with no more future sales, we'll be at 110, 120 locations. So, and at that size, I've seen what happens, and our performance is going to be kind of impossible to ignore. So we like the trifecta. We want to see 100 licenses sold, 100 leases signed, and 100 units open every year. If you do those three, then you're 1,000 location brand within the next 6-7 years.
Yeah, great. So then other thing is in terms of so the industry itself is pretty crowded now. You figured out a footprint which is unique, and I do think, because I've seen so many businesses, that there's a good potential for the growth. But if somebody was starting off new in this industry, trying to be an entrepreneur and build a new business in the beauty and wellness, any particular advice you would have for them and how they should approach it?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at the industry. What we did is we tried to find an industry that was large and that had some fragmentation in it, that we could build something that could maybe turn the model on its head. My advice to someone starting out in this industry is to look for ways that make yourself unique, but that uniqueness needs to be genuine. It needs to be uh, real. It needs to be thoughtful. It needs to provide value for your consumers. You've got to find a way to connect with people. So if you were starting out from scratch right now, I would definitely look for ways that are going to make you be unique.
Cool.
It is difficult because of so much that's out there,
Yeah.
but it's probably through your menu, through your environment, right? I mean, people are craving experience now.
Yeah.
Men more than ever are looking for experience. For the last, I don't know, 500 years, men have been told like that self-care was not important for men. And they're finally realizing that's ridiculous. That self-care matters, and doing what makes you feel good and look good is beneficial to you as a person. And so tapping into that desire from people is
The beauty, wellness, and fitness industries touch our lives like no other industry does. And every brand that has succeeded in this industry has a wonderful story behind it. We have stories that engage, stories that we can learn from, stories that inspire all of us. And I'm here to bring you these stories and introduce you to the wonderful people behind these brands. So if you're enjoying this, do press like and hit the bell icon to subscribe, so you'll be the first to know when a new episode comes in. I should go back and have our team do this. 2-3 years ago, when we did our benchmark report, we actually did the analysis, and which is the average ticket size for men in the industry was higher than the average ticket size for women.
Yes.
Which we were very surprised across the businesses. And I said, okay, so that means when men are willing to spend the money, and they do, when they make the time, they'll be willing to spend more money. So
Absolutely.
picking on them as a good segment that you chose. So
Yeah, I think our brand is very giftable. We sell, I mean, we have shops that'll sell $40,000 in gift cards over Father's Day. One location, 99% of those are bought by women. And those women are giving them to men, saying, I want you here. Once man has their wife's or their spouse or like their girlfriend or significant, whatever, their partner's support, they will spend.
yeah.
And that's the key, is those gift cards are permission.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, once you hear that my wife wants me here, they're like, I'm happy to be a spender.
And actually, it's a very important point, insight you've shared, because we see this in the industry, that gift cards are becoming so mainstream. I mean, people are tired of gifting. How many times will you gift an iPhone or a watch or a
Yes.
pen or something? So people are more looking for experiential gifts, and
Big time.
and I think it's great that you have a great gift card program, and it finds you new customers through the gift card programs.
Yeah. I mean, twice a year, every month we'll sell a lot of gift cards for birthdays and things. But for Father's Day and the holiday season, it's all we focus on, because the impact is so lasting. It does impact the franchisees' financials in those months, but it then has this trail on effect of new members, new guests. We love that gift cards turn into new guests.
Yeah.
You can't beat that type of thing. And they're new guests that show up without an excuse to join,
Yeah.
right? Because the number one reason people say when they're not going to join us is, I have to talk to my wife.
Yeah.
And then
And now your wife
and
is the one.
your wife told you to come here. And so they're like, you're right. And so I'm like, okay, well, like, if you're going to come back, which really that's the question you ask, are you going to come back? Yes. Then you should join, because the risk the risk does not exist. We spend more time helping people realize that we genuinely mean there's no catch.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't believe it. They're like, there's a catch. You're gonna get me somehow. It's like, we're not.
Yeah.
There's no catch. Join, save money, unhappy, you can go and we're not gonna mistreat you.
Yeah, well, you found a very interesting niche because just yesterday in LA, I was meeting someone from a laser business who's into sales, and they say the most common objection that women have when after their first visit is, "I need to talk to my husband," and they're like, "Okay, let's get your husband on the phone right now," because they're very aggressive and
Yes.
trying to say, "How do we make the sale happen?" But
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about that in some cases.
Not with gift cards. Not with gift cards.
Yeah.
They eliminate excuses.
Great. So, Aaron, is there a book that stands out where you've learned something which is interesting for others for you to share with others?
Sure. I think a book that kind of has stayed with me, that lasted my entire life in business, is a book called Egonomics by Dave Markham. And really, the book talks about how ego gets in the way in business more than you realize. And I found that to be very true. I hear people say this, but I truly believe that a meritocracy should matter. The best idea should win, not the biggest title or the loudest voice or the best arguer or the best of politics. I try to fight to build a culture within my organization that allows all voices to have some say. And then if we hear a good idea, we argue, we talk about it, we try to have some good knock down, drag out, maybe fights about things, but get ego out of the way. Just because it's my idea doesn't mean it's a good idea. Just because it's your idea doesn't mean it's good. Let's prove which is best. And it served me well. We end up with better solutions. We end up running better as a company. We end up with happier employees, happier franchisees, because everybody gets to have a voice and that egos aren't in the way. I'm not saying I don't have an ego. I'm sure I do. Other people do as well. But we've done our best to try and call each other out when we see that happening. And the book's done well to help me with that.
I should go read it because I haven't read that book, and I'm definitely agree with you. So maybe there'll be tips in there about how do I apply it and all that stuff.
Yeah, it for sure helps you realize that just you will recognize that people do things that are best for them or best what they perceive for them, and they think they're doing it for the greater good, but we don't always.
Yeah.
We want to be right. Our desire to be right sometimes outweighs our desire or what we are actually intending, and we have unintended consequences a lot of times. So we try to fight, and the core piece will be, look, use analytics. Prove what you're arguing. Don't, just because you're so articulate doesn't mean that you get to win all the time. Show me, prove to me that this works.
Yeah.
And so we test all types of ideas, which is kind of comes from my innovation background. I'm proud that we've tested 10 ideas in the past year that didn't make it to rollout, right? That if you're not testing enough and validating, then you need to find things that are failing. If you're not failing at certain tests, then you're probably not doing it right.
No, it's very true because I think people get married, me, myself too, included to my idea. So it's like this new shiny idea I have, and this month we're going to hit it out of the park because of this idea. But then you have to be willing to not get so attached to it and, just let it play out and see what whether it's true.
Right. Let the data guide you.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. I'll read up the book. I've also found there was a book which I've done a few entrepreneurship times. So there's a book called Flight of the Buffalo, which is an interesting book I found, which is, it teaches about saying when you herd a buffalo or there's a stampede, you have to figure out which is the leader and shoot the leader. And then the stampede stops. All the buffaloes will stop. Whereas when there's a flight of geese and they go in a shape properly V, you shoot the front, they just rearrange and then keep moving.
Yes.
So it's about saying, how do you convert a company which is following a leader to being like a geese where the leader doesn't matter anymore?
The business is moving forward.
Yeah, some of this concepts of ideas and following the data and logic also applies to the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I got some of that from, I read a book by the Blue Angels and we saw them fly,
Ah,
and they talked about after their flight, they do what's called a nameless and rankless debrief. And they take off their name and they take off their rank and they say, let's sit in the room with no name and rank and then self criticize your own performance in front of a team. And but hearing them do it was the most eye opening part because they were talking about how my foot slipped on the ladder climbing into the plane. Or when I went to buckle my seat, my buckle slipped
hmm.
and it didn't go in smoothly. They were hyper open about the most small, and when you're flying a fighter plane 4 inches away from another fighter plane,
It's insane what
those
they do.
details matter,
Yeah.
but they've learned that rank or ego can get in the way of sharing what's really going wrong, and, that's not in economics, but it just ties in
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're saying.
It's very nice. That's a nice example of. I've seen those planes, and it's amazing how they fly.
Yeah,
Do it.
exactly.
Yeah, great. So, Aaron, what do you do? We are all in the beauty and wellness space. What do you do for your own personal well-being and being in the zen?
Yeah, look, I have my struggles like anybody has in order to keep balance in my life, and things can get out of whack. I think what brings me back to grounded is nature. I try to get outside. I try to do whether it's fishing or hiking or hunting or paddleboarding. I think being out in nature, being with my family, those types of things have been able to kind of help keep me grounded. Um, I have most lately become obsessed with just eating more healthy. I found that as I get older, uh, picking the right foods has a massive impact on my energy for the day, on my ability to lead. I think that I've been oblivious. Is really for I don't know 45 years I've spent not understanding that how I consumed had a direct impact to who I was and how I showed up that day. So I found ways to uh, diet has kind of been my latest fad to dive into and I don't know if it is a fad, but I'm just trying to find ways to eat healthy and
Good. Yeah,
take care of
and
myself.
that's very true. They say we are what we eat at the end of the day, and so, and I love the whole notion of being in nature because I think nature, inherently, I'm also a believer when you're in nature. Even the notion of ideas flowing through your mind, they tend to flow through when you're one with nature because ideas come, they're out there, and it's not like so.
I
Nature helps.
no question that being out on the water, being out in that environment, the number of ideas that come to me, the number of solutions that come to me. But for most things, it's really just I become more objective. I kind of can zoom out. I'm not so angry or triggered or frustrated or right? I'm able to have a little bit more calm, rational look at things. And that is when I get my best ideas. I think that when you're holding on to something too tight, that's not my most creative solution. So it's when I gotta let go and relax. And when I do, I have better choices, better solutions. I'm in that flow.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti, the software trusted by over 30,000 salons, spas, med spas, and fitness studios.
So you've obviously been very particular about building your business and ready for scale and getting the foundations very well. How much have you spent time and how important has it been for you to introspect on your technology investments as part of being ready and what have you had to do in that area?
Yeah. I mean, look, it feels like this conversation for our brand never stops. And I mean that technology is changing so fast that we make decisions that we think have prepared us for the future. And then the future completely rewrites. And so then we have to pivot. And so trying to pick vendors that help us stay in the forefront is where we're spending our time and energy right now. I'm not a technology company. And I'm not trying to be, right? We're a grooming organization, but technology is a huge part of what we bring to the table with our app, with online booking. So we pick partners that help us do that. But it's really a never-ending conversation about we're basically having like a 5-year tech plan for our entire stack of services that we do, from our intranet to our marketing dam to our uh, uh, online repository of marketing images to our consumer experience to AI to our project management tools.
Correct.
Like all of these software organizations, you have to be able to really pay attention to, because it is the heart of running a startup. And really, technology in a startup is actually more important, is what I've learned, because we didn't have, right? I mean, I ran this company with 3 people at one time. So I needed technology to make us be feel like 20 people.
Yeah.
And so I use it as like a lever within our organization. We constantly invest in it, and I almost over invest in technology because I know it's what makes us more efficient.
Great. So that's good. I mean, it's good advice for people. I think you should constantly be evaluating in terms of because the landscape changes, and you'll see, I'm sure we'll see meaningful changes with AI as the next inflection point. So
Yeah, for sure. I've been on phone calls with vendors. Yeah, I'm just thinking back now. I've been on phone calls multiple times this week, last week, and will next week, who are my technology vendors, and they all have interesting and unique takes that I find myself kind of reformulating in real time. What is really being prepared for the future look like? Um, but it is tougher right now to say that you've got it all figured out than it's ever been for me. Technology is moving fast right now. Right.
So, Aaron, thanks a lot for making the time. And it was very insightful because, some of the things we discussed, I mean, super insightful and precise points around memberships, around, tips and gift cards and, the DNA of membership. I think it's very exciting to hear all the things you've done. And I wish you the very best with the company.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good time to be here.
Growth Diaries is brought to you by Zenoti.